Alrighty, Diesel with the People News. I'm not an attorney, not giving legal advice, educational purposes only. Alrighty? Now, if you want an attorney, there you go. Right? Um, Educational purposes only. Anything I say or do is just my opinion only. Alright? And I'm going to be commenting on a couple of this because this is actually challenged to the 14th Amendment. This is on Trump's behalf to fight this citizen thing of the 14th Amendment and all that kind of stuff and have it be cleared up. But there's certain sections that I want to fully address because, I've talked about in the past 14th Amendments are subjects, right? But I'm not an attorney. So maybe this document will help clear it up on the subject and you're not sovereign if you're a 14th Amendment citizen. The people are sovereign. 14th Amendment citizens are not sovereign. They're subjects. Okay? But I'm not giving legal advice. Now, we're going to point out a couple of things. Now, if you want to hear the whole thing about this document, which is going to be really educational for you, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it's going to be really good to sit and listen the wordings and how everything played out. Okay, courts have been known to actually ignore the law to gain more precedent to the government. Terry versus Ohio is one of them. Pennsylvania versus Mims. Okay, one of the very few cases actually applies to us really good is what is it? Arizona versus Miranda, right? So that's a very good case, but most attorneys don't use it in a proper way. You can use that in just about everything that you're doing. Okay? Hell versus Hinkle, Marbury versus Madison. Them three right there is really good cases to stick to. I'm short on time because I'm limited. Let's go ahead and go on to storage space.
Furthermore, the subsequent cases cited by the respondents in the lower courts don't contain any holdings on this question. So why are they citing them? John East.
It's either this business idiot box that's not picking up the Wi-Fi very good, or my Wi-Fi is slow. It's been doing this for the past 4 or 5 days. Um,
Eastman writes, as demonstrated below, the statements about citizenship in those cases were either dicta, unnecessary to the decisions, or just background assumptions that were made without any actual analysis. And we're going to go through it. He says, because the Supreme Court, has never squarely addressed this, whether illegals can have babies who are citizens, and has never held that temporary visitors or illegal aliens are citizens, the question is open. It has not been settled at all. He writes, both the lower courts and the respondents here, they misconstrue the scope of Wong Kim Ark. They treat the case as conclusively establishing that virtually all people born here on the geographic soil are automatic citizens. They say there's only a few exceptions like diplomats or soldiers, but they don't read the case right. They dismiss the critical fact, that the parents in Wong Kim Ark were lawful, permanent domiciled people. They just say it's incidental. Doesn't matter. Oh, it's not vital to the court's reasoning. It doesn't matter because Wong Kim was born in California, so that's all that mattered. But this is totally untenable. It ignores both the court's framing of the issue and all of the other things are just dicta. The Wong Kim Ark court explicitly described the question presented. Okay, they quoted it. They said, this is what we're here to answer today. It's about a child in the United States whose parents have permanent domicile and residence and are there carrying on business. Is that kid a citizen? Now, this fact is not incidental. It's foundational to the entire certified question, the stipulated record, and the entire analysis. The terms domiciled, permanent domiciled residence appear 30 times throughout the majority and the dissent.
Now listen to that part right there. Domicile. even today in the high courts with an extremely good attorney, they're using correct words. Very little resident, domicile resident, right? Resident is for government bodies, okay? Really just for, like the president is not his home living in the White House, but he's living in the White House. That is his resident, okay? He's conducting business. When you're in the hospital, that's a resident. You became a resident there, okay? They misconstrued these resident words, okay? It's domicile. Your home is a domicile. Your land is your domicile, okay? And you have dominion over the said property because it's not commercial.
Exploring the centrality of lawful permanent residence in the reasoning. The legal significance of domicile cannot be overstated here. It's not merely physical presence, okay? It's lawful establishment of a permanent home with an intent to remain indefinitely. Those are factors like checkboxes that show what it is. Something fundamentally distinct from the transient presence, right? If we're having a legal test, if you check these boxes, oh, it's domicile. If you're over here, you're a resident, you're temporary, right? Accordingly, the actual holding of Wong Kim Ark, the binding legal determination.
Right there, right? Resident. Temporarily. That means you're not there to stay. So when you say, what's your residence address, right? Well, they're saying you're living in your own home temporarily. And you're accepting it. That's, you tacitly agree to their terms. You're a resident. And you are temporarily living in your house. Okay? So, again, this is in court with a good attorney fighting a case that does need to be cleared up and that the courts have been ignoring the question. Number one, I am under belief that the 14th Amendment was illegally ratified. It doesn't even exist lawfully.
Based on the specific question presented, is literally limited to citizenship of children born in the United States to parents who are lawfully in the country. Statements in the opinion that suggest broader application based solely on birth without regard to the parental allegiance exceed the factual predicate and are non-binding dicta. Even Chief Justice Marshall explained, saying general expressions taken in connection with the case but extending beyond the case may be respected, but they should not control the judgment. Okay? You don't want a question coming to the court and then the judges are just like,
shit. Forgot about my slow internet. I'm trying to do this within a short time frame. Come on, baby.
born to temporary visitors is well settled, but that's profoundly mistaken. This court has never held that. The specific holding in Wong Kim Ark doesn't compel that. Now, they also err in dismissing the importance of parental domicile. It's true the word domicile doesn't appear in the 14th Amendment, but the constitutional text does require subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Subject of the jurisdiction.
And domicile is critical to understanding that phrase. Domicile reflects a voluntary and permanent submission to a sovereign's
submission, permanent submission to a sovereign, which the government is calling themselves sovereign. When our Declaration of Independence calls the people sovereign, right? And then they said the state is sovereign. Well, the people is the state. So the people are sovereign, right? But they misconstrued the word sovereign to give themselves the false illusion of them being sovereign. They are our servants. Okay, they're not our subjects, but they are our servants. They are beneath us. So how can they be sovereign if they're beneath us, people? So there we go. 14th Amendment. You submitted you to a sovereign. So you gave up a sovereign right to be a subject And now let the country be sovereign.
Authority, different from just passing through. It's rooted in the foundation of the 14th Amendment. In fact, its drafters made very clear that being subject to the jurisdiction meant owing complete, undivided allegiance, not just merely being physically there. It's more than just dropping a baby on the ground. You gotta be subject to the jurisdiction thereof. You can't violate the law and then claim a benefit of your violation of the law. If you subject yourself to the jurisdiction, that means you're here lawfully. Have a baby. Indeed, the debates explicitly contrasted permanent settlers, like Chinese migrants with lawful domicile, with temporary sojourners, and explain one gets citizenship, the other does not. Thus, it's not incidental, okay? It's the key holding. It's central to the court's reasoning. The court's holding rests on the narrow ground of children born to lawfully domiciled parents, not on broad endorsement of unrestricted just solely. And history supports our claims as well. The illegal lawyers who want citizenship for their illegalities, they attempt to bolster their argument with a patchwork of sources, and they say, oh, it's all well settled. Look, it's well settled. They say Casa says, well, this case said the Supreme Court assumed that all persons born here geographically were citizens. That's not even true. We read the case. Here's what the case actually says. As the case notes, the individual whose citizenship was at issue is this guy called Jared Shattuck. He was born in Connecticut before the American Revolution. Wow, saw some stuff, man. So he was therefore a British subject at birth who was clearly subject to English rule of just solely. He became an American citizen through his parents as a result of the success of the Revolutionary War, not because of some American rule of birthright citizenship. Okay, like, well, that case, you kind of got birthright. What? The Revolutionary War, dude? The issue in the case was whether his subsequent removal to the island of St. Thomas, where by his own act he had made himself the subject of a foreign power, had taken him out under the act of Congress. Okay, I was going to say, like, what are we even reading this for? This case had nothing to do with birthright citizenship. Like, what? What is this case? Okay, thank you. Now, they also misunderstand another case. John Eastman tells us that they also rely on this other case, Lynch versus Clark, but it's not any better. The Casa brief, the same people who were representing Kilmar, they assert that Lynch conclusively showed that all children born here are citizens, without regard to any allegiance of their parents. But they say that's ridiculous. That case was merely a state court decision. It was issued pursuant to an express provision of the New York State Constitution that specifically adopted English common law. So it's not really applicable to this. The citation of Lynch that they attribute generally to the Congressional Globe appears to originate, man, John Eastman has gone down the rabbit hole, baby, says it appears to come from a single reference by Representative William Lawrence during the 1866 Civil Rights Act debate, where Lawrence cited in a supposed note that doesn't even mention the case. So the commentaries stand for the opposite proposition, actually.
All right, if you want to hear any more on that, or if you want me to do another video a little bit clearer on this, let me know in the comments. But to get the full text of this, go to Robert's channel there, okay? Apparently he's an attorney as well, because ESQ Esquire. Okay, so again, my deal was more of calling out what I've been saying from a really good attorney, and good enough to go to the Supreme Court, and another attorney backing up this attorney to back, right? And reading these other cases of the cases and how the judges has been misleading the truth. Okay, so that being said, you heard it here first, right? They say 14th Amendment citizens are subjects, and they bow down to the sovereign. I changed the word, obviously, but I still want that status of one of the people and sovereign. And when I want my subjects, or not subjects, but my whatever they're called, servants, to actually do their job correctly. I don't care if it's a judge, do your job correctly. Officers, do your job correctly. President, do your job correctly. Congress, Senate, state and federal, do your jobs correctly. Right? We should not have to be going through all this nonsense if all the judges had clean hands, stayed in honor, and was operating in good faith. This is all unnecessary. All right. So, this will be the People News. Till next time. Bye, y'all.